So here's some retarded shit you're gonna find online, and as you see at the top, people are using our master's social engineering stickers instead of thinking. Now, I don't know all the details behind this case, but it does happen more often than not. And it's a travesty. But you never know. I also don't know the background behind this guy. I don't know if his history is clean. But he may not have done this, so he didn't deserve it. What I was focused on was this. Abolish and then they call it that, but there is a disproportionate amount of what people would consider minorities in prison. So it's not absolutely off the mark, but just the same, it is divisive. So here's what I left on here, and it's probably going to be too abstract for all these fucking retards. Here, let's read his last words first. Is this what it says? His last words, a written statement, which is all that the state of Missouri allows. Didn't know that. Where all praise be to Allah in every situation. And that's pretty fucking stupid. Back to point. Said if people had a clue, they would be focused on the issue at hand. For-profit prisons. Naturally, I don't expect any of these kids to have a dog in that race. Let alone numerous prisons, mind you. Just look up how many prisons there are in the states. It is telling of a different issue. Multiple issues, technically. People pulling our strings is what I'm getting at. They shouldn't exist. They shouldn't have to exist. They wouldn't need to exist. If there were checks and balances, standards, if people were doing the right fucking thing and standing up for themselves and reassuring that we live in an abundant system that is harmonious. If that was the case, we wouldn't have all these issues. Whether it's people acting out like a bunch of dumb fucks or people pulling our strings to put people in these for-profit prisons. Back to point. Where did I leave off? I said another issue at hand is a deficiency of lithium and copper in people's diet. Naturally, I don't expect any of the brain-dead kids clicking on our master's emojis to understand what I'm driving at, let alone appreciate it. Perhaps you should look into what I called attention to instead of acting like everyone else. Now, if you look closely, it's going to say comment will be added when you're connected. I don't know if it will. It might. I'm in my house. I'm on the network. I'm using the 5Gs. This shit should have worked. And it may when I refresh it, possibly. By the way, rest in power is a bad pun, and retards repeat that shit. People don't understand a fucking thing. You guys hear me complain about dumb fucks who talk about non-binary. It's because they don't appreciate where they are and how the system works. Because if they did, they would understand that it's stupid to repeat shit like that. The same applies to rest in power. People are very dumb. Let's see, if I refresh this, or did they block me? I don't know. There we go. I was like, what's it doing? Posting. Now we're posting again. Fuck yeah. Who knows? Either way, I recorded a video because it may not work. Yeah. What the fuck do I know? Do any of you who heard me out know what I'm talking about in terms of lithium and copper? Anybody? This is old hat. I went to school and it was not poor choices on my behalf, but a lot of it was, some of it was criminology, some of it was sociology, some of it was psychology initially. Yeah. And some of this came up. It was one of the first times I think this was ever introduced into my life. And there was an emphasis on for-profit prisons. Why does that exist? This is, again, maybe if you did some of the same bullshit schooling, you might have heard some of that, and you might know this. You might be able to answer these questions. You might. There's also the emphasis on disparity in terms of ethnic groups being locked away. Certain areas of town being targeted. This also factors into where, was it illegal substances, many of which are legal now, as far as I know, here in Portland, Oregon, but in the old days, they used to be dumped, essentially, in undesirable neighborhoods. Again, technically speaking, with ethnic groups that were being targeted. This is also, if you think of it, areas of town which would be impoverished, which would mean that they wouldn't have enough money to buy food, healthy food. Because the flip side of healthy food is quite literally genetically modified poison, fucking garbage, which means it would impact your diet. So there's a good chance that people in these neighborhoods would have a deficiency in copper and lithium to varying degrees. Now, if that's the case, this will incite one to be violent, to lash out, to have anger issues, and the list goes on. And it's only going to get worse from there. Usually that will also spill into, substance abuse to some degree to try to regulate these things instead of the issue at hand, diet. Eating food that is healthy and would balance you out. Quite literally create I got pissed off because this thing still hasn't posted. It would create a balance within your system. In other words, it would center you. It would quiet that crap. It would quell the storm that's fucking you up. It would also make you make sound choices in times of distress more often than not. It's another angle to this is you and I, all of us are being manipulated right now. I constantly complain about, food used to be fucking food, but idiots started calling it organic. So now we have genetically modified poison because it opened up another door. Same thing applies to idiots saying, I'm non-binary. That opens up a third option for man merging with machine. That's why that was introduced. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be rolled out in stages where you and I are broken down and we accept this. Just like people accepted a poor diet. People accepted for-profit prisons. People accepted ghettos. Granted, ghettos have been around a very, very long time. There has always been a hierarchical, I can't say the word, a structured tier system, having to do with the impoverished and the wealthy, the weak and the strong, so to speak, physically, mentally, spiritually, and otherwise. And it's by design, not by coincidence. But as always, what the fuck do I know? Maybe this will post to the internet. Maybe.